Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to the English Spectrum, your cozy place to learn easy English through real, everyday conversations. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Tom, and today we're talking about something we desperately need, but somehow feel so wrong.
Yeah, like doing something forbidden.
Even though it actually isn't.
Not at all.
Because today we're talking about rest.
Yes, the rest you take between work on the weekend when you're tired or when your body is already screaming, please stop.
But your mind says you're not tired enough yet.
Exactly. And that's where the shame kicks in.
Strangely, we often feel proud when we work hard, but feel guilty when we pause for a moment.
Spot on. You can work 12 hours without feeling guilty. But sitting still for 20 minutes, suddenly you think, am I a lazy person?
Yeah, and I think that's why this topic is so important. Because rest isn't a reward.
It's not. It's a necessity.
Like recharging a battery.
And honestly, without rest, we can't do any good work.
Also, let's be honest, many of us know how to work, but forget how to stop.
Yeah, and that's not your fault. The world often tells us that resting is a waste of time.
But today, we're going to break down that shame slowly.
Let me ask you something, Tom. Do you think people are more afraid of being seen as lazy or afraid of missing out on something when they rest?
Afraid of being seen as lazy. Definitely that.
Same here.
Because missing out is one thing, but the guilt that secretly haunts you while you're sitting back, that sticks around longer.
That's true.
But that's exactly why we wanted to make this episode. Because resting is a skill.
Yes, it's not laziness.
You don't need a perfect reason to stop.
You don't need extreme exhaustion.
And you certainly don't need anyone's permission.
You just need one small realization that your body has the right to stop whenever it needs to.
That's a very good point. Your body has a right to stop.
Because once your mind feels permitted to rest, the shame slowly disappears.
Slowly, not instantly. We're still human.
A very important reminder.
So in this episode, we're going to talk about why rest feels shameful, how to recognize signs of burnout, how to rest without guilt, what to do when that shame arrives, and how to build healthy rest habits.
And we're going to keep it simple, natural, and very real.
And before we go any deeper, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who might need it too.
And this is AB1, level episode, so just relax. You don't have to understand every word. Just listen, enjoy the conversation, and let your English grow naturally.
And later in this episode, we'll also have a word tour where we review some powerful words, idioms, and phrasal verbs from the day's discussion in a simple and clear way.
So stay with us for that.
And before we start, one quick question for everyone listening.
When was the last time you felt tired, but still told yourself, I'll rest later?
And in the end, you never rested at all.
Yeah, that moment.
If you know that feeling, this episode is for you.
So maybe this is the first real question. Why does something so natural create so much shame?
Yeah, because strangely, resting is simple, but the guilt that comes with it is not.
I think part of the problem is that we were raised with the idea that rest is a reward after hard work.
Exactly. And when something is seen as a reward, you have to deserve it first.
Yeah. And if you rest before you feel tired enough, you judge yourself very quickly.
So now it's not just about stopping. It's pressure, guilt, and the voice in your head all mixed into one.
And that voice can feel much louder than the actual exhaustion.
Especially in a culture that highly values productivity. Because then you're not just thinking, I need a break. You're also thinking, will others think I'm lazy? Will I fall behind? What if I'm wasting time?
Yeah. And once all those thoughts come at the same time, resting starts to feel much heavier than it should.
That's why I think many people struggle to rest for the wrong reasons.
What do you mean?
They think the problem is, I don't have time to rest.
Ah,
When actually, very often the problem is just shame. Too much shame for a very small moment.
Yeah, that feels right.
Because if you remove a little bit of shame, resting feels much easier.
And that's where this idea is so important. Be kind to yourself.
Yes, be kind to yourself means treating yourself like you would treat a tired friend. No scolding, no comparing. Just saying, you're allowed to stop.
I love that actually, because resting becomes easier when you stop seeing it as a test of worthiness.
Yeah, no one is standing there with a notebook, giving you a grade for taking a 20-minute nap.
Thank goodness.
And honestly, the goal isn't to be the most productive person in the world.
No, the goal is to keep your body and mind healthy.
For yourself and for the people who need you in one piece.
Exactly. Sometimes the best rest is something that makes you feel human again.
Yeah, if you give yourself permission to rest, you help yourself feel less guilty, less pressured, and lighter.
And that is a very beautiful skill.
Absolutely. Because your body remembers that kindness. Your mind remembers that peace.
Not the nonstop hard work. Not the constant achievements. Just relief.
That's beautiful.
Write that down. That's one of your good lines.
One of, that hurts.
I said one of, be grateful.
All right then.
But seriously, I think that's the core of this point. Rest feels shameful when we make it too big in our heads.
Yeah, when actually, rest often starts with something very small, a long breath, turning off notifications, sitting still for 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's ask, how exactly do we start resting without shame?
I think the easiest answer is this. Start with the smallest thing.
5 minutes, 10 breaths, one song, walking to the kitchen without a phone.
Yeah, even a rest that small counts.
And I like this because it takes the pressure off. You don't need a week-long vacation or an hour of meditation. You just start from one small moment. And also, the way you think about rest matters. People feel more relieved when they see rest as a necessity, not a reward.
Yeah, necessity means something you desperately need, like water, sleep, air. Not a bonus, not a luxury.
That can change everything. Even a small phrase like, I am recharging my energy can feel more powerful than, I'm being lazy.
Right? There's a big difference between feeling, I have the right to rest, and I'm stopping because I'm weak.
Exactly.
And once your mind sees rest as essential, you can start to ease into it.
Yeah. If you ease into something, you do it gently, without rushing, without force.
Not with a heavy sense of guilt.
No. Please don't sit on the sofa saying to yourself, fine, I'll rest even though I feel really guilty.
Please don't do that.
That will feel like torture, not refreshing.
So starting simple is enough. I'll sit for 5 minutes. I'll turn off my phone for 10 minutes. I'll drink coffee without doing any work.
Yeah, and the magic isn't in the long duration. The magic is in giving yourself permission.
I like that, because your body isn't waiting for perfect permission. It's just waiting for one sincere, deep breath.
Or at least 10 seconds without looking at a screen.
Honestly, yes. Rest works best when it feels ordinary, not a performance, not a big project.
So if anyone listening is thinking, but I have so much work, that is exactly the reason to rest.
Not a reason to avoid it.
Far from it.
Because the point isn't to stop forever. The point is to recharge so you can continue better.
Okay, let's say we've decided to rest.
Right? No big guilt. Great sign.
Amazing sign.
Then the next question is, how do we keep that calm without feeling weird or restless?
And I think the answer is, stay present and don't think about what you have to do next.
Yeah, because a good rest isn't just about stopping physically. It's about a mental break.
Exactly. If your mind is still busy with a to-do list, your body might be sitting, but you aren't really resting.
like if you're sitting in the park, but your mind is editing emails in your head.
Then you can say to yourself, hey, this is rest time. The emails are for later.
That makes the rest feel more restorative.
Yeah, restorative means something that makes you feel fresh and recovered again. Like a good night's sleep, like a comfortable silence.
And that usually happens when you do one very simple thing.
You tune out the noise.
Exactly. If you tune out something, you stop paying attention to it. You don't let it into your head.
So instead of constantly thinking about pending work, you let yourself just be.
Like turning off a noisy radio inside your head.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to explain it.
And luckily, tuning out this noise doesn't require meditating on a mountain.
Which makes it perfect for busy people like us.
But seriously, that's why some people can rest peacefully. Not because they don't have responsibilities, but because they know how to compartmentalize rest time from work time.
Separating them, and then giving yourself permission to stop for a moment.
And it doesn't have to be a long break either. Just 5 minutes of breathing. One song without distraction. One short walk.
Try turning off your phone for a bit. Try looking out the window. Try taking 3 breaths.
Small rest. Big difference.
Yeah, and when you do it well, your body feels at ease.
Which is one of the best feelings rest can provide.
Exactly. Because once your body feels at ease, all your objections to resting become lighter.
And I think that brings us to a very useful part of this rest journey.
Yeah, the questions we ask ourselves.
Because sometimes rest doesn't go well because we are too hard on ourselves.
It ends because the questions in our heads are too cruel.
Exactly. A question can sound so innocent, but still make you feel guilty.
Yeah, a sweet little killer of peace.
Precisely.
For example, are you sure you deserve to rest right now?
And your mind answers, no, probably not.
And then your shame immediately cancels that rest.
Yeah, the rest is ruined before it even starts.
That's why gentle questions work better. Questions like, what does my body need right now? Or, what would I say to a tired friend?
And to ask like that effectively, it really helps to be self-aware.
Yeah, self-aware means being able to look at your own feelings honestly without judgment.
Like if you feel very tired, a self-aware person doesn't say, you're weak. They say, you need a rest. That's normal.
Exactly. And another important quality is being compassionate.
Yeah, compassionate means gentle and understanding, not harsh, not comparing yourself to others.
Your inner self can feel the difference.
It really can. A compassionate question feels warm. A harsh question feels like a blow.
Hey you, why can't you be stronger like everyone else?
Very bad energy.
Terrible.
So the secret isn't just take a rest.
It's take a rest with kindness toward yourself.
Because that's what makes rest truly restorative.
And once you stop judging every moment of your rest, something else also becomes easier.
Handling shame when it arrives.
Yes. Real life.
Real life, indeed.
Because sometimes rest feels beautiful, and sometimes the shame comes uninvited.
Yeah, like when you're sitting quietly and suddenly your mind says, you could be doing something useful right now.
Yeah, and suddenly you don't know whether to keep sitting or jump right up.
Exactly. And your mind starts looking for excuses to stop resting.
And that's why the most important thing here is, don't fight the feeling.
Right? A moment of shame isn't the end of your rest.
Sometimes the mind just needs a little time to settle down.
Yeah, if you settle down, you slowly become calmer and less restless.
So maybe the first minute feels awkward with yourself, but the third minute feels more peaceful.
Or maybe your shame will just show up anytime.
Also possible. Very possible.
Very.
But that's why you have to stay gentle. Breathe. Tell yourself, this lazy feeling is normal, but I still have the right to rest.
You don't need to chase away every feeling of shame that comes.
No. Some feelings are just meant to be allowed to pass by.
That is a very liberating truth.
Exactly. Because once people stop being afraid of their own shame, they become braver about resting.
And the courage to rest is more important than nonstop productivity, honestly.
Much more important.
A human resting with a little shame is still better than a human who breaks because they never stopped.
Always.
And actually, that brings us to another moment where many people get stuck.
Yeah, the moment when your body is already tired, but your mind is still saying, be strong a little longer.
Exactly. And this part is crucial because this is where many people burn out.
They truly burn out. One day of skipping rest.
And suddenly exhaustion piles up into something massive.
Yeah, because now your body is trying to do two things at once.
Survive without rest.
And slowly lose its energy.
And that's where you have a choice.
Keep pushing, or listen to your body.
Listen to your body.
Always listen to your body.
Because listening isn't weakness. It is wisdom.
And honestly, your body never lies.
Yeah, tiredness is the language of your body.
You can say to yourself, okay, my body says stop. I'm going to listen.
And doing that actually makes you stronger in the long run, not the other way around.
Yeah, long-term strength isn't about pushing every day. It's about knowing when to stop.
So a wise person isn't someone who never gets tired.
No. It's someone who knows how to respond to their tiredness.
Which is much better than just collapsing from exhaustion.
Yeah. Don't let your body be the one that forces you to stop in a painful way.
So if your body has spoken, listen.
Because it keeps you whole.
And it shows that you truly care about yourself.
And now, the part many people forget.
Letting go of the shame.
Yeah, because starting rest is one skill, but letting go of the guilt afterward is another.
Yes, some people have rested, but their minds are still busy saying, you should have been working.
Rest that isn't really rest.
Exactly.
But calming phrases for yourself help a lot.
Things like, I am taking care of myself. That is not a mistake.
Or, I can't pour from an empty cup. This rest allows me to keep going.
That feels warm and makes sense.
Yeah, and sometimes, if we haven't rested in a long time, we can feel that we and rest are out of sync.
Exactly. If you're out of sync with something, you're no longer in harmony with it. It takes time to get used to it again.
And that is a very human feeling.
Indeed. But even so, it's still good to start small and be kind to yourself.
Because a good end to shame leaves a new beginning that is lighter.
And saves you from actual burnout.
A very important life skill.
Extremely important.
So maybe that's the final message from today's episode.
Rest doesn't have to be perfect.
It just needs permission.
A little kindness toward yourself.
The courage to listen to your body.
And gentleness when the shame arrives.
Yeah, start small. Don't fight the shame. Stay human. Slowly, the shame will fade.
And bit by bit, resting stops feeling wrong.
Rest starts to feel like a normal part of being human.
And that feels like the perfect place to pause. So, don't be afraid to rest.
And don't let shame stop you.
Your body knows what it needs.
Listen to it.
Respect it.
And restore your energy gently.
See you in the next episode of Asterisk the English Spectrum.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Tom. Have a good rest.